What if reality is not what you see? Have you ever considered that what you're seeing right now may not be reality itself, but a translation? That everything you experience, every color, every sound, every sensation, is not the world as it truly is, but a model constructed inside your head? What if the world you live in is not the raw version of existence, but a filtered interface? Tonight, we explore a question that sounds simple, but changes everything. What if reality is filtered by the brain? Let's begin with something grounded. Light does not have color. Color is something your brain creates. Photons travel through space as electromagnetic waves. They have wavelength, they have frequency. But red, blue, green, those are translations. Your retina captures wavelengths. Electrical signals travel to your visual cortex. Neural circuits process contrast, movement, edges, and from that, your brain builds a world. The same happens with sound. Air vibrates, your eardrum moves, signals fire. Music doesn't exist in the air. It exists in interpretation. The smell of rain, the warmth of sunlight, the taste of coffee. None of these are raw reality. They are internal reconstructions. Already, this tells us something powerful. We never access reality directly. We access processed data. Modern neuroscience goes even further. Research suggests that perception is predictive. Your brain doesn't wait for complete information. It predicts what it expects to see and then compares incoming data to that prediction. If there's a mismatch, it adjusts. If not, it continues. In other words, you are not passively observing the world. You are constantly simulating it. This is sometimes called predictive processing. And it means that perception is partly imagination, corrected by evidence. You are not seeing the world as it is. You are seeing your brain's best guess. Now consider this. Different creatures live inside different realities. Bees can see ultraviolet light. Snakes can sense infrared heat. Some birds detect Earth's magnetic field. Dogs hear frequencies we can't even register. To them, reality is structured differently. Not because the universe changes, but because their biological filters are different. Imagine two radios tuned to different frequencies. The air is filled with signals, but each device captures only a narrow range. Humans may be the same. What if we are tuned to a narrow bandwidth of a much wider spectrum? What if what we call reality is only the slice we are able to decode? This leads to a deeper idea. Some cognitive scientists propose that evolution did not shape us to perceive truth. It shaped us to perceive survival. Accuracy can be expensive. Efficiency is essential. Imagine a computer desktop. You see folders, icons, a trash bin. But beneath that interface, there are circuits, binary code, electrical states. You don't see them because you don't need to. The interface hides complexity so you can function. What if perception works the same way? What if space, objects, solidity are icons, useful symbols, not fundamental truth, not illusion, compression, a simplified dashboard that helps you navigate? If that's true, then many of our assumptions might be incomplete. What we call solid is mostly empty space at the atomic scale. What we call color is interpretation of wavelength. Even the present moment is slightly delayed because your brain needs time to process input and build experience. So the world you feel grounded in is already edited, already compressed, already interpreted. Not fake, not imaginary, filtered. Now let's turn this into a human question. If perception is filtered, and you had a choice, would you turn the filter off? At first, most people say yes, because it sounds like freedom, like truth, like finally seeing what is real. But we need to be careful, because the filter may not be a limitation. It may be protection. Your nervous system is not built to process the full complexity of everything at once. It's built to survive, to focus, to act. So imagine the filter is removed. The first thing you might notice is not enlightenment. It might be overload. Because the world is not a stable set of objects. It's a storm of information, light waves across countless frequencies, sounds layered on top of sounds, microscopic motion everywhere, internal sensations you usually ignore, patterns your brain normally smooths out. Even in normal life, your brain is constantly discarding data. You don't feel your clothes most of the time. You don't notice your nose in your vision. You don't hear the hum of electricity until you focus on it. That's the filter working. Now imagine it stops working. You might become hyper-aware of everything, not as clarity, as noise. And there's another consequence. Your perception is tied to your identity. If the filter changes, your sense of self can change with it, because you is partly a story your brain stitches together to keep your world coherent. When the filter loosens, the boundaries can loosen too, between objects, between time, between me and not me. This is why some altered states can feel profound, but also terrifying. Because when the interface weakens, reality doesn't necessarily become clearer. It can become unfamiliar. And that raises an even harder question. If your brain is filtering reality, what is it filtering out? It could be harmless complexity, or it could be something much deeper. Entire dimensions of experience that your biology cannot render. Not supernatural, just incompatible with the interface. Like trying to display a 4K image on a screen that can only show 480p. The information may be there, but the hardware cannot translate it. So if you ask, what would I see without the filter? The honest answer is, you might not see it at all. You might experience something your current categories don't even contain. And that's the real risk. Not that the world becomes clearer, but that it becomes unrecognizable. Because your filter doesn't just shape perception. It shapes meaning. It tells you what matters, what is safe, what is dangerous, what is real enough to respond to. So perhaps the deeper question is not how do I remove the filter, but how do I understand it? How do I recognize that my experience is a constructed model without losing the ability to function inside it? Because the goal isn't to escape reality. The goal is to see the interface for what it is and become less controlled by it, less reactive, less trapped inside automatic interpretations, more aware, more precise, more free. And maybe that is the closest thing we have to seeing beyond the filter, not by turning it off, but by knowing it's there. Maybe reality isn't hidden, maybe it's simplified, rendered in a format your nervous system can manage. You do not see the source code of existence, you see the user interface. And perhaps that limitation is not a flaw, but a design feature. Because too much raw truth might be overwhelming. So the question isn't whether reality is filtered. Science suggests it is. The question is, what might exist beyond the filter? Lucid Order. Question everything.